It's one of the world's most beautiful cities. A place renowned for its elegance and style, Paris, France. But the story of Paris lies not in its chic cafes or leafy boulevards. The story lies hidden in back alleys, forgotten in cellars, buried in mass graves. It's a tale of extraordinary engineering and scientific endeavor protecting the city from ruin. When Paris is threatened by war, Parisians build phenomenal defenses. When the city's river threatens to run dry, Parisians keep it flowing artificially. When the city is threatened by revolution, Parisians redesign every major street and square to make sure it cannot be repeated. Despite these threats, Paris has survived and prospered through the ages thanks to resourceful technology. Paris, built by people, kept alive by their ingenuity.
We built this city. We built this city.
Paris, capital of France, situated in the heart of Europe. With its monuments, art galleries, and museums, it's become one of the world's most popular tourist destinations. But look again, Paris isn't all it seems. The city can't grow outwards because of geography. It's hemmed in by hills and the River Seine. The city can't grow upwards because of geology. Much of the bedrock beneath the streets is too fragile to support the weight of skyscrapers. The story of Paris is one of engineering and science, preserving a city where no city should be. Sometime in the 3rd century BC, the Parisi, a tribe of Celtic Gauls, built a defensive fortification on a natural barrier, an island on the River Seine. Their fortified village held off all invaders until 58 BC with the arrival of the Romans. The Romans called their new settlement Lutetia, meaning marshland. They transformed it into a typical Roman city, with bridges linking the island with both sides of the Seine. They expanded the Parisian village onto the river's left bank. It's still known today as the Latin Quarter. The Romans built roads, houses, and an arena, and laid on spectacular entertainment. In what is today a suburban park in the heart of Roman Paris, archaeologists have found evidence that gladiators once fought for their lives against lions and bears, kept caged and hungry behind these bars. There was capacity for 15,000 excited spectators. But Roman Paris didn't last. In 481 AD, the town was captured by an invading Central European tribe, the Franks, the ancestors of the modern French. 600 years later, Paris has grown. With more bridges and roads, it had become an important trading center, making it more exposed to attack. The Vikings, even the English, all in turn posed a threat. Just before the 13th century, the king, Philippe Auguste, a visionary engineer, devised a simple solution to Paris's defense needs: a wall. Today, in backyards and alleys throughout Paris, traces of Philippe Auguste's landmark engineering project can still be found. The wall, with its 67 towers, was an ambitious project running all around the city, enclosing 675 acres. Back in medieval times, a lack of water was only one of the many problems facing Paris. Gloom hung over the city. France was locked in a 100-year war with England. This was the age of the legendary French heroine, Joan of Arc. It wasn't until 1453 that the English were driven out. Under a new king, Paris became the capital of France. People flooded in, searching for work and wealth. By 1589, Paris was cramped and overcrowded, the narrow streets barely able to cope. As the city became gridlocked, it was obvious that Paris needed a new river crossing. The king, Henry IV, took control and ordered the construction of this. It's called the Pont Neuf. It means new bridge. The first bridge made of stone to cross the River Seine. It is now the oldest bridge in Paris, but in its day, it was an engineering marvel. Today, Paris boasts 36 road, rail, and footbridges that span the Seine. That's one bridge every 300 yards. Traveling down the Seine is like taking a journey through the history of bridge building. This is the latest, a sleek, modern footbridge called the Solferino. It stands out because it's a single arch made of welded steel, over 110 yards long. 16th century bridge builders had no access to modern technology such as this, but they were just as ingenious. The Pont Neuf consists of no less than 12 arches and is 300 yards long. It joins both banks of the river with the island in the middle, the old heart of Paris, the Ile de la Cité. Because of the weight of stone, they had to sink extra deep foundations, not into the bank as with today's Solferino Bridge, but directly into the riverbed. It was a monumental task, only made possible by Paris's ongoing problems with water. It was now the time of France's most famous king, Louis XIV, known to all as the Sun King. In a show of extravagance, Louis built himself a palace 12 miles outside Paris at Versailles, making it the center of his government. He deserted Paris because it was squalid, overcrowded, and rife with disease, no longer fit for a king. As the 18th century drew to a close, Paris faced its greatest ever sanitation crisis. It was almost the time of the French Revolution, but first Paris had to overcome a different bizarre uprising. A revolt of the dead.